Hello, I am Yogini Sunita, and this is Meditation, Yoga, and Stuff podcast. I believe my dharma or my life's purpose is to share my understanding of meditation, yoga, and Ayurveda, holistic healing science of India. I make these amazing wisdoms accessible and adaptable for present times. So let's start.
Hello and welcome to the podcast. Today's topic is yoga and Ayurveda for anxiety. So, how yoga and Ayurveda can help in if you have anxiety or if you experience anxiety. So, let's start with what is anxiety. Now, anxiety is a normal response to any situation which is maybe a fear-inducing situation, and so the situation where fight or flight response our system triggers, and that is necessary for us for our survival. And anxiety can be very natural and adaptive response for stressful situation. Having said that, when anxiety takes over, that's when we need to look into how we can use wisdom of yoga and Ayurveda to help ourselves through the acute anxiety. Now, again, we need to understand that anxiety is basically our system giving us alert of potential danger and prepare us to respond appropriately. But what happens that when it becomes excessive, it becomes prolonged, our system continues producing those chemicals or hormones which is anxiety induced, so much so that it becomes second nature, and because of that we may have acute anxiety disorder. We can also say that mental health conditions involving excessive anxiety. And sometimes it can also show unrealistic worries, fears, and into everyday situation or about any objects or things like that. And so we're going to, when we understand anxiety this way, we are going to then take steps to what can we do to reduce anxiety. And here, wisdom of yoga and wisdom of Ayurveda is extremely important. So Ayurveda's suggestion, Ayurveda is a healing science of India. It is a traditional medicine system. So it is a medical science which offers remedies for our our whole being. And so the remedies may not be like allopathic medicine. The remedies are quite actually make sense. They're like really effective, but they may not be like take herbs or take pills for anxiety. So the Ayurveda's suggestion is practicing yoga to help balance mind, body, and reduce anxiety symptoms. So here we're going to tune into how yoga helps. So the first suggestion from Ayurveda is practicing yoga daily. Now, why do we need daily practice? So what happens that when we do yoga practices daily, we are creating new neurological pathways, and that helps our system to understand that it's okay, we don't have to be afraid. So we are training our system on the mat to face the world of the mat, and that is how beautifully yoga works. Now, what can yoga offer? Usually when I say that yoga can help, the images come in clients' minds is standing on head or going body into pretzel shape. But yoga is not just the physical movement. Yoga is way beyond that. Physical movement is literally a tiny part of yoga. So imagine if yoga is Mount Everest and it is submerged under the ocean, and all we can see is tiny island on top, which is the peak of Mount Everest. And usually when we talk about just the physical portion, we are talking about just that peak. But the whole wisdom, like Mount Everest, is below that. And that's where we're going to draw our understanding of how yoga can help for anxiety. So, yoga has amazing breathing practices. A simple act of breathing correctly can reduce anxiety. So, a lot of time, what happens that people have this breathing patterns, or maybe I can say the way people breathe sometimes is they never learn how to breathe basically. And so it could be really inducing a lot of anxiousness in the system. For example, if you're breathing through the mouth, it is going to create anxious situation. So what came first, either mouth breathing or anxiety, we don't know. But if you correct the breathing through nostrils, you are winning half of battle. So it's very important to understand that breathing correctly is very important. So keeping mouth lightly closed and breathing through nostrils is a way to go. Now, sometimes there is a broken septum of the nose, or sometimes for any situation like accident or something like that, we cannot breathe through our nose. So in that situation, yoga gives a solution. The solution is, imagine you're breathing through your nostrils. So energetically, our system corrects that the breathing pattern. Even though you may be breathing through your mouth, but the image of breathing through nostrils, that's where prana or chi or our energy will flow through. So tuning into how the breath is flowing in and out of our system, and as far as possible, focusing on nostrils and letting the breath come in. Now, deep breath is suggested for anxiety, but here I'm going to talk about what is deep breathing according to yoga. So the deep breath, when I say to new clients, take a deep breath, what happens that they puff their chest and take like a breath which is almost restricted. They're not using their whole lungs. So what I suggest is take a slow, steady, long inhalation and take a slow, steady, long exhalation. And just few rounds, you don't have to do too much, but doing it regularly and maybe throughout the day, whenever you remember, focus on your breath and gently deepen your breath. Be very gentle. Here also you can use the mind's power. You can use our mind's capacity to focus. So if you can focus your inhalation, the breath entering through your nostrils into lowest part of your lungs, and it is exhaling from the lowest part of the lungs to out through your nostrils. So if you focus on that, this will deepen your breath. So that's all we need to begin with. So slow, steady breath, focusing on inhale and exhale. And also not just inhale, but exhale is also important to making sure that the breath is completely exhaled. Another beautiful part of the breathing practice is when we start breathing fully or focusing on deepening our breath. In the situation of anxiety, we start realizing that we take this wisdom from mat into our life. So we start realizing that I don't have to breathe like this shallow breath, because if you have gone through, or if you know someone who has gone through anxiety or panic attack, the breath is very shallow or almost not there, and they will tell you that they can't breathe. So what's happening here is the system goes in so much panic that they don't know how to deepen their breath. So what if we have regular breathing practice? Then in case of panic attack, we know how to breathe. Even that is quite effective. So bringing awareness into this situation, that slow, steady inhale, slow, steady exhale, and breathing through nostril. Now, imagining breathing through nostril is very impactful. My personal experience is when person goes through trauma, a trauma can be if any painful situation, our breath affects. And so this is where when we start noticing that our breath is affecting and that is triggering anxiety, what if we start slowing down our breath? We don't have to do like many breaths, 3 to 4 breaths, but that will change the mind's focus into the breath. Now, this is one suggestion. Another suggestions are using the asana practices, the physical movements, and doing these practices with awareness. So gentle yoga called restorative yoga, which is doing asana or yoga physical practices with lots of support, is something helps us to completely relax. So learning to relax. And if I tell you that relax, you have to relax, what will happen is our system rebels. So what if we train our system to gently relax? And so gentle asana practices or yoga movements, conscious awareness towards what's happening when you are doing these practices, the physical movements, it's really, really impactful. So we actually embody the understanding, okay, when I move my arm, I become aware that, oh, this is tight or this is relaxed. Just becoming aware of this is very, very powerful. So it helps us to connect with our body. And impact of that is really valuable, because what happens that the mind-body connection, which is almost lost in anxiety, we bring it back. So we bring in the connection of mind, body, breath together. And that is what yoga does. It is really, really effective. There is some yoga poses you can do, like a child's pose, a tree pose, or a cat, or any pose with a lot of awareness. Cat pose is something which is very beautiful in a way, like when we bring our awareness towards the physical movement, moving spine. So you're on all fours and you're moving spine with your in-breath and your out-breath. And your whole body is taking part in that. Similarly, tree pose or vrikshasana is really beautiful, where you're balancing on your one leg and embodying the tree in your body. And so tree is very grounding, so this pose gives us grounding. It helps us to also balance. It brings a lot of awareness of our system into the pose. Our brain needs to focus on balance. Our breath needs to be there to help us be steady. And also mind needs to be engaged. So all this is coming together is very powerful. And poses like child's pose, which are beautiful, which almost takes us into that infant pose, where body is almost like a rounded, where you are in a cocoon, and so it promotes relaxation. Now, this pose may not be suitable for your knees, so in that case there are modifications you can do. So you can use the props to help yourself in that pose, but there are many ways to bring that stillness in the poses. And yoga practices, asana practice or breathing practice or relaxation practice is all about our energy system. And our energy system, when we become aware of our physical, mental, emotional state, the energy system also start relaxing. So it's a very powerful way to relax and find our center in the practices. Now, about relaxation, yoga, after every yoga session, you may have noticed that there is always relaxation or shavasana at the end of it. And that is very powerful because it helps us to save the information we have created, neurologically save this information. But also relaxation teaches us how to calm down. And here, if your mind is going into, oh, my teacher is repeating the relaxation, oh, last time's relaxation was amazing, oh, I need to experience new relaxation. It is not really about that. It is all about just tuning into the instructions and allow your brain to follow the instructions. And what will happen is it will slowly and steadily train your brain and your mind to calm down and relax. So just 5 to 7 minutes relaxation at the end of a 1 hour class can do wonders. And if you are doing like a yoga nidra practice usually 15 to 30 minutes practices, which are very powerful. But if you have acute anxiety, I would suggest that start with relaxation or shavasana practices, which are guided relaxation, and then build up to the yoga nidra practice. Because yoga nidra practices are consider advanced relaxation practices. And why they are advanced? Because our system needs to learn how to relax, basically, So small doses is the way to go, and it will help you to embody the relaxation. And once your system know what to do, then it can stay 30 minutes without any movement. And similar thing I would say about the meditation. I suggest that if you want to do meditation, start slow, start with just 5 minutes every day. You can also do guided meditation initially, and then you can bring in regular practice, like maybe increase it to 10 minutes and so on, depending on how much time you have in your life, So, but I suggest even 5 minutes regular meditation every day is going to be very, very powerful. A lot of time clients ask me, what is the sequence, or how should I do this? Like, how should I do the yoga practices? So I suggest that to be in the morning, evacuate your bowels and begin with physical practices. So bring the energy in your system, like joint freeing practices, which are called Pavan Muktasana series, or gentle asana practices. You don't have to do long practice if you're doing everything regularly. If you keep too long practice, then it is going to be challenging in busy life to bring in. But just maybe 10 to 15 minutes of physical movement, so you get your blood flowing, energy moving, and then you are sitting down and doing the pranayam or breathing practices. The breathing practices, just awareness towards the breath, is also very beautiful. So you can do that few rounds of that, 6 to 8 rounds, and then you will notice that the whole system starts calm down, and then that is the time to include meditation in your practice. So altogether, you will need 20 to 22 minutes in the morning. And it is very doable, So if you can find that 22 minutes in your morning, that is, and if you are suffering from anxiety, then this will be very beneficial. Again, every one of us are very unique. So what will work for you, it is your exploration. Also, please remember that understanding that Yoga and Ayurveda is not a replacement for your medical treatments. These are suggestions which will help you to reduce the anxiety. But that doesn't mean that you stop taking all your medication. That's not the point of this podcast. The intention is, if you can add this in your life and work with your doctor, you will start noticing that these practices really help you to reduce anxiety and maybe even lower your medication. But always make sure you talk with your doctor and also learn from a practitioner who knows what they're doing. This is another suggestion. What else can Ayurveda suggest? So Ayurveda obviously suggests doing yoga practices. Ayurveda suggests aromatherapy because aromatherapy's origin is in Ayurveda. And Ayurveda realized that there are several essential oils like lavender and chamomile and ylang. All these really help us to reduce the anxiety. Now there is a scientific documents on that. Some say that it works, some say it doesn't work. But maybe it has a placebo effect, and maybe these smells, beautiful aromas, are helping you to relax. So find out what works for you. I love my pillow spray, and it is beautiful spray which really, I think my mind has created this connection with that smell that it is time to sleep. And the pillow spray is very beautiful. It has lavender and few other things which I don't remember, but something like that, like have a ritual that will help you to relax at night. You can also tune into your diet. Maybe diet needs to be changed because according to Ayurveda, our food impacts everything. So if you go to Ayurveda practitioner, first thing they will ask is, how is your gut health? Are you going to evacuate your bowels every morning? And then they will ask how is the bowel movement? Is it constipation, or is it loose motions, or so there will be a lot of question about that. And the reason for this is that will give the Ayurveda practitioner a lot of idea about your overall health. So Ayurveda also talks about how certain foods can induce anxiety. So what happens that, say for example, if you take a cup of coffee every morning, you may not get anxiety, but if you are drinking 5 to 6 cups of coffee, it may trigger the anxiety. So tune into that, like maybe is coffee triggering your anxiety? Tune into that. Any other food which is triggering anxiety in you, and finding eating foods that will help you to digest easily, which will reduce your stress of your system and digestive system. For example, anything which is difficult to digest is going to create stress for your system. So find foods which are easy to digest, which will give you nourishment as well, not just easy to digest. Also avoiding caffeine, alcohol, processed foods. This will definitely help to reduce your anxiety. So tune into that. Ayurveda is into fresh foods. The foods you cooked is very, I will have better energy than someone else's cooks for you, in a sense like, mass-produced food, which is cooked in factory, will have different effect on the food than you or your loved one cooking food at home, or even restaurant where the food is created with a lot of love and compassion. Then that will also reflect on the food, and then that will reflect on our digestion. So finding ways to improve digestion. And then another thing we can do is using herbs, but herbs is a last resort for in Ayurveda for anything. So they will always try with yoga practices, you will try aromatherapy, dietary changes, and things like that. But herbal remedies like something like ashwagandha, brahmi, shankha pushpi, these herbs will help you to reduce anxiety. But again, everyone is different. So unless I see you personally, one-on-one session, even via Zoom, then only I will suggest that. So I'm just be mindful that these are not my suggestion in a sense like, start taking them from today. That's not what I'm saying. If you're taking herbs, please know that we are unique fingerprint of divine. And so unless you have your Ayurvedic practitioner, or if you want one-on-one session, please contact me through my website, and I will help you with that. I do not recommend any herbs unless I see the person either via Zoom or in person. The reason for that is there is a lot of wisdom behind giving herbs. So herbs can be, we need to look at what medications you are on, what's happening in your life. So be mindful of that. So herbs is the last thing Ayurveda practitioner will suggest, but you can also tune into like self-care practices. Ayurveda is very big on massages, so using anxiety reducing Ayurvedic oils like Vata oils. You can apply them on your body, or you can take it to your massagist and suggest them to use that as an oil for you, or tell your loved ones to use that oil, and that will help you to reduce anxiety. It says if you are going to drive after your oil massage, please be mindful that you will be very sleepy. So I suggest that if you're going to use Ayurvedic oil, do it at when you're not going to drive after that. So these are few suggestions. These are few suggestions from wisdom of yoga and Ayurveda to help you reduce anxiety. But again, please, if you have severe anxiety, please do not replace yoga and Ayurveda as your medical treatment. So continue with your medical treatment and use yoga and Ayurveda to help you slowly work through your anxiety, and work with your doctor, and taking their advice, you can then adjust your medication. But always make sure that you're talking with your doctor what you're doing. And if you have any questions, my new website now, the wellnessbusiness.com, is now active. It may look just like Sunita Yoga, and that is on purpose. So those who are my regular clients who know how Sunita Yoga looks won't feel shocked with the new change, and slowly we are bringing in more changes. I'm also in a process of creating something to help people bring positive habits in their life. So stay tuned. I will talk about it very soon. If you have heard this podcast before, and these programs have come out, please come back and visit the website, and there are new exciting things happening. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you listening this, and I hope that this podcast about anxiety and how yoga and Ayurveda can help has really helped you. Thank you so much. Bye for now.
Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate that you're taking this time out of your day. Don't forget to subscribe. Take care. Bye for now.